YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today, guys, we are gonna talk about Voiceless voice, but not just any Voiceless voice, but we are gonna add Kashtira's with it as an engine. Now, I've searched out some other good variants for Voiceless voice, but so far we got Branded and Melodious. Melodious, we haven't got the cards yet in Master Duel, but we tried Branded. Nevertheless, it is only on one copy for Branded Fusion, so I don't really like to recommend that if ever that would be the case, but at least we tried that in Master Duel. So during yesterday's stream, I talked with the chat on what other variants Voiceless voice can be added with, and they recommended Kashtira's as well as another good variant. The Kashtira's at its own right will impact the game, having to banish cards to the field, banish the cards from the extra deck, and basically banish 3 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. And in some cases, people would like to stop the search for any Kashtira monsters, whether it is the Wraith Soth or from the Theosis or from the Unicorn effect. They are very impactful on the field. That way, if your opponent used an effect of an Imperm, a Veiler, or even an Ash Blossom, you can just normal summon your low and then continue on with your combo in gaining access to your Skull Guardian as a full combo. Also, if you are lacking some materials to use for the summon of your Skull Guardian, Kashtiras are level 7, so you just have to sacrifice one of the Kashtira monsters for the summon of your Skull Guardian. I was trying to run a second copy of Birth a while ago, but just okay on one copy. Imperm was supposed to be on 3 copies, but I don't want to exceed 41 cards. Now, I'm not even using the Kashtira trap card here because it will, like I said, go beyond 40 cards. So the Big Bang is out of the question. So I just want to settle with 40 cards for my main deck. For the extra deck, the important ones that I want to have in the extra deck are the 2 copies of Herald. You can just run with 1 copy if you like. But since we are running Diviners, the 3 copies of Diviners are pretty good. Very consistent, so we have to run 2 copies of Diviner, 1 copy of Elder Entity Antes just to pop 1 card on field, 1 copy of Chaos Angel that trias into a copy of 1 low on the field, gains you access to a copy of Chaos Angel. It wins me most of my games. For your rank 7s, you have number 11 Big Eye, 1 copy of Dark Arm just to pop cards on the field, 1 Shangri-Ira, 1 copy of Arise Heart, you have a copy of Divine Arsenal and a copy of Typhon, 1 Anima because you have some level 1s, 1 Masquerina, 1 Dark. I don't know why we were running Dark the Dark Charmer. I don't know why we added that one there. But yeah, you can just go for a second copy of Dynamunda. But yeah, IP Masquerina into a copy of Little Knight during your opponent's turn. And I think that's basically it. That is your deck profile for your Voiceless voice and Kashtira's. Let's move on with our replays just to showcase this deck out. Okay, let's go. Okay guys, so here we are with the replays, and we're going up against Fire King Snake Eyes of all things. He's going first, and lastly, we don't have any good interruptions against this. The reason we actually won this game is he overcooked. That's basically it. I'm just going to showcase to you guys what happened here. So let's fast forward this game. So he's going to go for Wanted, gaining access to the Black Witch. Black Witch will spell summon to the field, dumping a copy of Poplar. Poplar will be in the field, and then gaining access to the Original. He already got a copy of Ash, by the way. And Original will gain access to the Ponix. Ponix will get the continuous spell into the copy of the field. Spin back 1 spell card to draw 1 card, and then popping using the field spell to gain access to the Garunix. Popping the Volcanics, spell summoning the Original Garunix, going for an IP Masquerina, and take note, he has a ton of materials on the field at this point. And then he's going for Eternity for some reason, and the reason for this is he's going for a copy of the Promethean Princess, spell summon the Volcanics, popping the Eternity to get a copy of Kirin for some reason. And then he still has some good materials on the field, no locks whatsoever, but he just go into a Heat Soul, drawing 1 card, and lastly, going for a copy of Whale. So that's basically it. That's his board. Now, nothing to it. There's no like good interruptions at this point. Maybe an interruption from the Promethean Princess though, or a copy of Whale, but other than this, there's nothing to it. So all we need to do is just trigger some of the cards, which we got perfectly from the Unicorn, and we're good. And we even draw another brick, which is the Saphira. Trill summon that. He's going to go for Promethean, popping the wrong card, going for an Ash Blossom to my Saphira, not really half bad. We're going for Diviner. If he has a copy of Nibiru at this point, he can't Nibiru because he will be locked into Spell summoning Fire monsters only. He chained with Maxi. It's not half bad as long as he doesn't have a Veiler, then we're still good. So with Diviner, chaining our copy of Trias, tribute it, use the effect of Diviner, Spell summoning our low to the field. Going for low, he's gonna pop one monster there. Spell summoning the Garunix on the field, popping another Kirin. Kirin will be spell summoned to the field. Spell summoning one monster, popping the barrier. Luckily, we got a copy of Blessing here, gaining access to our barrier once more and activating it. Now at this point, just remove the Fire King Island and this will be wiped. Summon our Skull Guardian here. Spell summon the low back to the field, and since he has 7,000 life points, all we need to do is go for Chaos Angel. And this is basically game. So we have more than lethal or more than 7,000 damage. There we go. So we go for damage, and that's basically it. And if he had Nibiru at this point, he could have won the game, but it didn't. He doesn't have any Nibiru. I saw the deck profile. So that is our first game. Let's move on with our second game. Okay guys, so here we are with our second game. We're going up against Exosisters, so we have one Diviner, one Kashtira Voiceless, two copies of Saphira, and a copy of Wraithsoft. Now we don't have any interactions like Ash Blossoms or whatnot, so he's going first. Let's start off with his combo, and he's going to go for Aratama, getting a copy of Sakitama. Sakitama will be normal summon to the field, going to a copy of Caspitel. Caspitel will be summoning or getting a copy of Martha. And then Martha will spell summon to the field, going to a copy of Michaelis. Michaelis will search a copy of Vadis, and the two will go into a copy of Magnifica. And lastly, with the packs that he has, he will go into a copy of, or get a copy of Returnia. So at this point, what we can do here is try to get something out. And like I said previously, your opponent will always negate the search or the activation of a Kashtira card. So that's what we're gonna hope for in removing some of the interruptions on our opponent's side. So luckily, we drew into a copy of Unicorn to help us with that. So Wraithsoft is going to be activated. Our guy is going to go for a copy of Magnifica, banishing a copy of Wraithsoft. So we can search. Now at this point, all we can do here is just special summon a copy of Unicorn, and then he'll trigger the effect of Magnifica, spell summoning a copy of Michaelis to the field. But we already got a copy of Birth here because of the Unicorn. So it's still perfectly fine. Now, it could have gone into a copy of Theosis here, but I would have to use the effect of Rise Art in case our Unicorn is going to be banished. So, might as well going to go for Birth and then spell summon our Unicorn back to the field. That way, he can still use his back rows or use his cards at this point. So, there we go. Birth will be activated in the main phase 2. As we tried to destroy the Michaelis, but he banished it during the battle phase. Spell summon the Unicorn, spell summon a copy of Rise Art, and then banish the Theosis, making him a level 7. Going to a copy of our Dark Armed Dragon because we want to trigger the back rows. He will use the effect of Returning at this point. Banish the 2 cards, and now we are free to move. We haven't normal summoned at this point. So we dump a copy of Saphira, gaining access to our Skull Guardian, and then dumping a copy of Prayers to the graveyard. So with that, we used the effect of Diviner, dumping a copy of Entes, forcing our back row. Now, I could have gone with Saphira, but for some reason, I was so paranoid what that back row is. I want it removed, so I dump a copy of Entes for that one. Needless to say, he summoned a copy of Vadis, and like I said earlier, it's not really half bad if we got locked out from the graveyard, because we don't really use the graveyard that much, as long as it's not the Asophil that locks out from ever using effects from the graveyard. So we go for a copy of Skull Guardian here, and since our Diviner was tributed, we can spell summon a copy of Low to the field, which is pretty good. So after the ritual summon, the copy of Sophia and the Irene will trigger, going for a copy of Asophil, and again going for a copy of Caspitel for the Irene. Now, I think this is a minor misplay on his part because he chain blocked the effect of Caspitel with the Asophil, because this is basically the best card to counter against this deck. So no card effects will activate in the graveyard, so my prayers won't activate. I have some problems with Exosisters because there are some cases where these type of players use a lot of hand traps. That includes Nibiru, so there might be a Nibiru in case we actually used up the effect of Skull Guardian's negate. So with the Low on the field, we gain access to the barrier, and with the Skull Guardian, we gain access to the Seravis effect monster. So like I said earlier, he chain blocked it with Asophil, so all we need to do is just negate Asophil so that our prayers will still trigger if ever our monster will be removed. So with this, he's gonna or we're gonna get a resolve, gaining access to the barrier, gaining access to the radiance. Then our guy is gonna use the effect of Nibiru. Like I said earlier, luckily we negated the effect of Asafil so that we can use the effect of prayers and then spell summon the Skull Guardian to the field. And since we have a second Skull Guardian or a ritual monster in the graveyard, all we need to do is just use the effect of Radiance, spin back the ritual monster, and then special summon a copy of Low to the field. With this, we get a copy of Blessings, which enables us to ritual summon again if ever we have a ritual monster in the field. Also, this will gain us access to the banished cards, if ever. So our guy is gonna just go into a copy of SP Little Knight just to remove all of the monsters on the field. So SP Little Knight can't target my monsters, and all he needs to do is just attack any of them, but he can't. And I won't even trigger the effect of Skull Guardian here because I don't want this card to be removed from the field so that he can use the effect of his Exosister monsters. So all you need to do is just concede at this point. Okay, for game number 3, we're going up against Mathmech. We're going first, by the way, so we don't have like any interruptions, thank God. But we have one hand trap. I think that's better than the past 2 replays that we have. So Maxi, 1 Diviner, the 2 Seravis, and the 1 copy of Skull Guardian. That's pretty good. But we only have 1 starter here, so which is Diviner. Diviner dump a copy of Trias. Trias will tribute. And then Diviner will summon a copy of Low to the field, and then Low will gain us access to a copy of Barrier on the field. Barrier will search out a copy of Saphira. Saphira will be dumped to the graveyard plus a prayer, and then gaining access to the last copy of Skull Guardian. Ritual summon Skull Guardian to the field, and then special summon the Low to the field. Now, sadly, we couldn't have another spell card that we can spin back to the deck. This would be really good though if we have Seravis on the field, but nevertheless, we're still perfectly fine. So summon Low to the field. I think that is our 5th summon, I guess. So yeah, after this resolve, we got the 5th summon Nibiru, which we can just negate. If ever he has a Veiler or an Imperm, we can't activate it since we are protected from the barrier. So during his turn, he went into a copy of Silent Mining, which I said, oh, another Cyber Stack, dumping a copy of Dutscaper, possibly a Mathmech, and then when I saw Circular, this is a Mathmech deck. So I need to have 1 monster in the field first because I am afraid of Gamma. Majority of the time, people with Mathmechs play Gamma. So he's gonna use the effect of Circular. I want that card to not resolve. So there we go. So all he can do here at this point is just spell summon a copy of Sigma, normal summon a copy of the Defensor, use the effect of Alambertian here, gaining access to a copy of Subtraction, which I don't know why he did that because my monsters are non-targeted or untargeted. Going for a copy of Splash Mage, spell summoning a copy of the Defensor. Now the reason, I think this is a minor misplay on my part because I tried to Ash, or I did Ash basically the Defensor because I don't want him to gain more materials on the field. Nevertheless, I can still survive access code or the Dark Fluid whatnot. I have more than 3,000 attack, or 1 monster on the field which has more than 3,000 attack, so I can still survive 1 turn. Plus the 2 defense position monsters which I can't take in more damage, which is basically okay. And if ever he wants to go into a copy of access code, I still have prayers in the graveyard if ever my Skull Guardian is going to be removed. So there we go. Firewall is going to be on the field. He's going to use the Subtraction, and sadly, like I said, he can't target my monsters. He's gonna target his own Dark Fluid. So this will be like around 4 or 5, I guess. And then he's gonna use the effect of Dark Fluid, dumping a copy of Multiplication. So yeah, 4, 5, and then it's multiplied 9,000. So that's the full attack. And then go for the second attack for the Dark Fluid. Majority of you guys who are playing Mathmech or doesn't know about Mathmech that Dark Fluid can attack twice depending on the number of attributes that he has. So yeah, that's one fact about Dark Fluid. So at this point, I'm surely gonna win at this point. There's nothing to it. I mean, I already got all of the cards I needed for this spot at this scene, and he even dumped a copy of the Save Worm, which only affects spell and traps. Not half bad, but yeah, he can't counter everything else because we only deal with monster effects. So Seravis, summon to the field. He's gonna use the effect of Maxi. Before that, we spell summon the ritual monster Seravis, summon the Low since we ritual summon 1 monster in the field, getting a copy of Radiance, and then dumping a copy from the Saphira. Saphira will ritual summon, go for a copy of Skull Guardian, And then lastly, we go into a copy of Chaos Angel. Banish the Dark Fluid, and then since we haven't normal summoned just yet, we can just normal summon low for to enable all of our protection and the effect of Skull Guardian. So there we go. That is our game number 3. Game number 3. Let's move on with our game number 4. Okay, game number 4, we have 1 Maxi, 1 Diviner, 1 Skull Guardian, 1 copy of Pressure Planet, and a copy of Barrier. Our opponent is going first. This is Dinos, by the way. So, typically, Dinos tend to break from time to time, which he did. By the way, this is evenly matched. The face down card is evenly matched. He shouldn't have like set it or whatsoever, but you know, it is what it is. Pressure Planet will be activated, forcing any Ash Blossom, which, like I said, they will. Ash that. So all I need to do is normal summon the Diviner, dumping a copy of Trias. Trias will tribute a copy of Diviner. Diviner will spell summon the low to the field. And since we already got the Barrier, we use the effect to get a copy of Radiance. Use the effect of Barrier, get a copy of Saphira. Saphira will dump Prayers and itself, getting access to a copy of our Suravis, the Ritual Monster. And then we Ritual Summon the Skull Guard to the field, tributing the low. And then spell summoning the low back to the field. So what we search here for the Skull Guardian is a copy of the Suravis Effect Monster. Sorry. And it's sad to say we couldn't have any other spell cards to spin back the Prayers and 1 other spell card. Nevertheless, once we pop the effect of Radiance, our guy showed his hand for Meteorus, dumping a copy of Maxi at this point. And what we drew was lucky. We got a copy of Triple Tactics Talent, control the Meteorus, and that allowed us to spin back 2 spell cards, then special summon the Suravis to the field, going for game. So that is basically all of the replays, and that is the deck profile for you guys today for Voiceless Voice and Kashtira. Tell me your thoughts on the deck list and the games. I'll see you guys on the next video. Keep safe, good luck. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. Goodbye, boys and girls.